There are humans in your lifestyles proper now who cannot be depended on. Now, not due to the fact they wear it on their face, not due to the fact they hurt you loudly, but because they conceal their hazard at the back of allure, helpfulness, and subtle manipulation. Carl Jung failed to just have a look at the thoughts. He studied what humans disguise, and he made it clear the maximum risky humans aren't the loud ones, but the quiet distortions who combination in pretending to care whilst quietly dismantling you from the inside. They don't constantly shout. They do not continually abuse. Now and again they smile. That is what makes them risky. It is why you hold lacking the symptoms. It really is why Jung made it, his lifestyles' work, to apprehend not simply the personality, however the shadow. Due to the fact humans do not display you who they are. They display you what they suppose will work. And in case you're now not aware, you may supply your time, electricity, except as true with, even love to someone who's in no way secure initially. So Jung laid out 6 patterns, 6 mental masks, 6 persona kinds that sense harmless at first, but quietly damage you if you're no longer conscious. Permits start. 1. The continual sufferer. That is the person that never takes duty. Everything that happens to them is a person else's fault. They're continually struggling, always attacked, constantly completed wrong at the floor. You experience terrible for them. You empathize. You help. You turn out to be emotionally invested in their healing. However, Jung noticed this truly. Folks that stay in permanent victimhood are frequently hiding deep manipulation. Because in case you are continually the sufferer, you in no way have to be accountable. You never need to trade. You by no means ought to confront your very own darkness. The continual victim makes use of their pain as a weapon. They guilt ride. They twist truth. They pull sympathy out of you and turn it into responsibility. You don't help them. You grow to be wearing them, and the worst component, they do not need healing, they want control. Jung warned us. While a person is constantly a victim, they have got in all likelihood fused with their shadow. The part of them that prospers on emotional manipulation beneath the hide of helplessness. These human beings will by no means exchange. Due to the fact to trade could be to lose the best power they have, your pity. And in case you don't distance yourself from them, you'll begin to experience responsible for now not being broken yourself. The captivating reflect. Jung known as this the character trap. Someone who reflects lower back to you exactly what you need to see. They're agreeable, supportive. They snort at your jokes. They appreciate your dreams. They validate your insecurities. At the beginning, they feel like your largest supporter. However, slowly, you observe something bizarre. You do not, in reality, understand who they are due to the fact they're not displaying you something real. They're mirroring you to gain accept as true with. Younger wrote that after a person over-identifies with their character, they turn out to be a mask and the actual self remains hidden, protected, untouched, and unaccountable. The captivating mirror is dangerous due to the fact they feel secure. However, what's behind the mask? Nothing. No substance, no stability, no regular values. Simplest the ability to conform, to mimic, to impress. They may be now not dependable to you. They may be loyal in your approval. And the instant you stop admiring them, they vanish or worse, turn against you. You did not meet them. You met your mirrored image of their performance. And trusting someone like this is like shaking fingers with smoke. 3. The passive competitive enabler. This one is subtle. They do not overtly criticize. They do not combat you at once. They permit you to speak, and then they advise, they hint, they undermine. This character will nod whilst you percentage your dream and later say something like, "This is formidable. I just don't need you to be disillusioned." Or, "You're so brave for attempting that. I do not assume I would ever danger failing like that." Sounds supportive, right? However, it is not. Younger defined this dynamic because the hidden shadow of the helper. These human beings do not attack your selections. They slowly erode your self-belief through emotional concept. They gift doubt as problem. They present worry as logic. They gift judgment as maturity. And if you're now not conscious, you may internalize their obstacles as your very own. Jung believed that this kind is particularly dangerous because they fake to empower you while quietly making sure you in no way outgrow them. Due to the fact if you succeed without them, they lose their invisible grip, they lose relevance, and for the enabler, that is a silent ego dying, in order that they clip your wings before you ever take flight and phone its support. 4. The name of the game competitor. This man or woman isn't always competing with the world. They may be competing with you, but not overtly. They fake to be your friend. They applaud your fulfillment. They act like they are glad for you, but on every occasion something precise happens for you. They find a way to make it approximately them. They decrease it. They redirect the I. They inform their own story. Barely better, barely extra outstanding. Jung believed that this kind is driven with the aid of unconscious inferiority. They don't hate you. They resent what you replicate lower back at them, their personal inadequacy. And instead of owning that feeling and developing from it, they compete secretly. They replicate your ideas and pretend they had been theirs. They provide backhanded compliments. They only have fun you whilst they're in advance, never when you're above. You sense it inside the tension, within the compelled praise, inside the diffused shifts. And if you ignore it, you will hold pouring trust into a person who sees you as a hazard, no longer a friend. And here's the twist. Whilst you fail, they may experience comfort. However, they might not say it. They will just say, I used to be afraid this might occur. I tried to provide you with a warning. This character isn't always a teammate. They may be a mirror competitor who plays the role of aid simply to stay near enough to sabotage you emotionally. Jung warned, in no way trust someone who cannot clap while it's now not their flip to win. 4 out of 6 found out. Each one greater diffused than the final. Each one extra dangerous the longer they cross undetected. Now, we're going to disclose the final 2, the manipulative, sensible one, and the seductive empath who hides manage below compassion. Plus, how Carl Jung believed these types form through early trauma and unintegrated shadow. And Jung believed these two had been the hardest to spot because they regularly appear smart, beneficial, or even recovery. They do not control you through pressure. They control you through your need for love, boom, or readability. Let's retain 5. The non-secular narcissist, the clever one. That is the individual that provides themselves as enlightened, mature, grounded, emotionally advanced. They speak softly. They quote philosophy. They reference recovery, alignment, shadow paintings, and mindfulness. They present themselves as above conflict, above ego. But in truth, they may be deeply attached to being visible as advanced. Jung could name this a split psyche, where the aware mind clings to religious identification, even as the unconscious shadow leaks out as quiet superiority, manipulate, and judgment. The threat: they do not dominate you by arguing. They dominate you by way of always being the calm one, making you sense emotional, unhealed, or spiritually inferior every time you thrust back. They say things like, feels like a trigger you haven't handled, but I am simply keeping area. It is not my obligation to fix your projection. You're nevertheless reacting. You have inner work to do. It sounds sensible, however, it's without a doubt an energy play. They use emotional language to invalidate your truth. You cannot win an argument because they will never admit to one. You cannot confront them because they'll reframe your anger as a flaw in you. And the more conscious you attempt to come to be, the more they shift the frame to live above you, silently, spiritually, untouchable. Younger warned about this in particular due to the fact the sensible one regularly builds their persona out of unintegrated ego. They did not kill their ego, they just gave it gowns and crystals. They buried it underneath ideas and referred to as it transcendence, and the greater you consider them to guide you, the greater electricity they advantage. Now not with the aid of supporting you grow, but by way of preserving you small, harassed, and continually desiring their clarity. They don't want equals. They want college students. They do not need restoration. They want authority, and in case you're no longer cautious, you will mistake their emotional stillness for intensity, whilst in fact, it is just overall performance. 6. The empath who continually finally ends up on top of things. Jung wrote often approximately projection, how human beings assign their very own needs, wounds, and intentions onto others unconsciously, and the 6th type is a master of this, the empathic controller. They feel the whole thing, they experience strength, they pick out up on moods, frame language, tension, subtext, they cry without difficulty, they consolation you often, they make you experience deeply visible. In the beginning, this seems like a present, it appears like connection. However, through the years, it becomes something else, control via sensitivity. You begin adjusting your behavior so you do not disturb them. You suppress your reactions so that you do not hurt them. You hesitate to specific frustration because they will say that electricity without a doubt impacts me, and before you understand it, you're no longer expressing yourself at all. You are handling them due to the fact they have satisfied you, their pain is your fault. Jung warned about this subtle threat, that many people who declare to be rather sensitive are without a doubt projecting unhealed chaos outward and demanding the arena organize itself around their wounds. That is wherein the empath becomes toxic. They don't want connection. They want emotional protection at your expense. And if you fail to satisfy it, they destroy down and you come to be the awful man. You are insensitive, you're bloodless, you're volatile, you are answerable for their spiral. However, it is no longer your spiral, it's theirs, and they've by no means found out to hold it. So they area it on you. And in case you're no longer cautious, you'll spend months, even years, looking to alter someone who in no way took duty for themselves. You will mistake emotional chaos for depth. You will mistake sensitivity for purity. You may mistake manage for closeness, and by the time you comprehend it, your identity could be wrapped round someone else's emotional typhoon. It's not love. This is psychological submission, and Jung's advice, stroll away. Due to the fact this sort of individual will by no means say they're risky. They'll say they're just feeling too much, and accept you're deeply rooted in yourself. You will begin to accept as true with them. You may agree with their pain is your fault. Their chaos is your burden. Their breakdowns are your obligation, but they're no longer. You did not wreck them. You just were given too close, the deeper warning. Now that you've heard all 6 kinds, you might ask, why do these people exist? Why do they pass this way? And Jung's solution is brutally clear due to the fact they by no means met their shadow, so now they make you convey it. They by no means confronted the part of them it really is manipulative, so they project it onto you. They never admitted their need for control, so they manage humans in the call of love, assist, or guidance. They never took duty for their pain, in order that they made it your process to fix. These human beings aren't rare, they're everywhere, and they thrive in spaces in which humans do not know how to shield their energy. Jung believed the most effective protection became self-cognizance, to identify the masks, to look through the kindness, to pay attention what's no longer being stated, and stroll away earlier than you need proof. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Now we will pass beyond the list into how you prevent attracting these humans, why your shadow makes you tolerate them, and a way to permanently turn out to be someone they cannot manage, use, or break. By now, you've got seen them. The 6 people Carl Jung stated you ought to never believe, not due to the fact they are always evil, but because they are deeply unaware of themselves. And when someone has no consciousness in their own shadow, they make you live in it. They come to be the persistent victim, the charming mirror, the quiet enabler, the hidden competitor, the religious narcissist, the empathic controller. They do not constantly come to spoil you. They arrive to feed from you. To Jung, this wasn't ethical failure. This changed into a psychic pattern, a survival device of the unconscious trying to keep itself collectively by way of externalizing ache, manipulate, and emotional confusion. And if you do not apprehend the sample, you will assume it is simply horrific success. You will assume you keep attracting horrific people. You may think you're being punished, but Jung could say, you're now not being punished. You are being mirrored. Because here's the actual warning the majority pass over. You entice what you have not incorporated. Allow that sink in. In case you're continually attracting manipulators, there's a part of you it is still afraid to stand for your personal truth. In case you're always surrounded with the aid of victims, there's part of you that wishes to be wanted with the intention to feel precious. In case you're continuously betrayed with the aid of charming humans, you are nonetheless worshipping external approval extra than inner readability. This is why this video isn't pretty much who to keep away from. It is about why you tolerated them inside the first region, and Jung believed the solution usually lies in one location, your shadow. The shadow attracts the masks. Jung taught that the shadow is the entirety you have repressed. The parts of you were instructed had been an excessive amount of or too selfish or too extreme or not cute, so that you buried them. You have become excellent, you have become useful, you have become agreeable, you became emotionally smart, you became something would get you accepted. However, right here's the chain. Joff, you misplaced your area. You lost your instincts, you lost your barrier to damage. Because while you repress your anger, you tolerate disrespect. Whilst you repress your intuition, you ignore red flags. While you repress yourself, safety, you keep letting in the individuals who fake to love you and then slowly consume you. Jung did not want you to end up bloodless. He wanted you to emerge as complete. And to try this, you have to prevent pretending that your love is countless, that your staying power is eternal, and that your consider need to be freely given because it shouldn't be. No longer everybody merits access to you, in particular not the people who live unconsciously. Because here's the brutal fact, some humans aren't getting to know. They may be just repeating. They've been the identical for 10 years. They're not doing shadow work. They're not evolving. They're not developing with you. They may be just adapting their language to hide their same vintage patterns. And until you come to be the form of individual who values internal alignment over outer harmony, you may hold bending for individuals who would not stretch an inch for you. What to do now if this video hit you tough, precise? It method something in you is waking up. It method you are executed being easy to control. It manner the antique model of you, the one who had to be preferred, needed to fix, needed to experience top, is subsequently war. Now, so right here's the way you pass ahead. 1. Awed at your circle. Begin asking, who drains me? Who confuses me? Who am I constantly explaining myself to? If someone continuously wishes context simply to treat you right, they may be now not stressed. They are fending off responsibility. Allow them to move silently without guilt. Jung believed withdrawal is one of the most powerful acts of focus. No longer due to the fact you hate them, however due to the fact you've stopped forsaking yourself to hold the peace. Allow your shadow talk. Forestall seeking to be ideal. Allow yourself say no. Let yourself get indignant. Permit yourself question human beings' intentions. Your shadow is not evil. It is defensive. It's the part of you that recollects who you're whilst you're being emotionally gaslit into forgetting. Permit that component rise. Jung said, one does no longer become enlightened with the aid of imagining figures of mild, but via making the darkness conscious. If you want peace, stop acting for it. Integrate the part of you which can walk away, which can set a boundary, which can say, I am no longer available for this anymore. 3. Stop explaining. The people who deserve your electricity might not need you to justify your obstacles. They may sense them, they may respect them, and they will match you with their personal readability. But the toxic ones, they will demand causes. They may guilt journey you. They will paint you because the trouble. Let them. Younger failed to consider in convincing unconscious humans to see your mild. He believed in turning into so grounded in yourself that their confusion now not slows you down. 4. Believe what you felt the primary time. Most people are not burdened, they're simply hoping they may be incorrect. However, you weren't. That second you felt the energy shift, that moment you hesitated earlier than trusting, that second your intestines said something's off here. That wasn't paranoia. That became your unconscious analyzing patterns earlier than your mind caught up. Start being attentive to it. Because the human beings Jung warned us about don't display up with caution symptoms. They display up with flattery. They display up with emotional stories. They display up with alignment and vulnerability and recovery speak. But time always tells. And when it does, you better be a long way enough away that it now not prices you something. The very last word, Carl Jung didn't need you to fear the world. He wanted you to stop fearing your personal knowing. The extra shadow you integrate, the less toxic human beings get near. Now not due to the fact you're hiding, however, because your electricity now not gives them entry. You forestall explaining, you prevent solving. You forestall justifying your standards. And without ever raising your voice, you grow to be a person no manipulator can attain, no narcissist can idiot, no competitor can rattle. Due to the fact you are now the individual Jung wanted you to be, wakeful, complete, and impossible to trick.